We're here at the 2023 Rock Chuck Olympics. I'm with Erik Cortina, and he's going to talk about those of you that want to get into precision rifle. Hey Erik, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, man, anytime.
This has been fun.
It has been extreme fun. Extreme.
So while I have you here, I really wanted to just talk to you about all those folks out there that they see us making these long range hits. They've seen, people pulling off these monumental feats of strength with precision rifles, and they think, you know what, I got to get into the game. Maybe they have dad's hunting rifle, maybe they just don't know how to use their equipment. If someone's just getting into the game of precision and long range, maybe the reloading or the gear, like if you had a buddy that came to you from that position, where would you start with that person and what would that conversation look like?
Well, first you need a proven platform, something that's already working. If you already have, for example, a rifle that like you said, your dad, your grandpa had, you can start with that.
Sure.
But hardware is important. That's why the top shooters, we use really good equipment. It's not because we need it, it's because it's more reliable, it's more consistent.
Yeah.
So equipment matters, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've seen people that just invest heavily into equipment, which I call hardware.
Yep.
And none into software, right? So they buy all this equipment, but they don't invest any money or time into learning how to use that equipment.
The skills.
The skills. So think of it as this leg is hardware, this leg is software. It's all you do is buy hardware. All you're gonna do is spin in a circle.
Okay.
And I've seen the opposite as well, where people just dive into reading forums and magazines. Well, nowadays it's just internet forums and taking classes. and they do all they do is learn, but they never practice.
Yeah.
So you have to do both. You have to find a good balance. And the more you learn, the more you're going to understand your equipment, and you're gonna know when you outgrew your equipment. Most people don't know that they outgrew the equipment, and the equipment is always holding them back. People always say, my rifle shoots better than I do. They don't really know that,
Right.
So that's the idea, but you should be able to shoot as good as your rifle.
So on the equipment side, are you thinking things like, you got to have a good bore, you got to have good action, a good stock, like the right ergos, all that kind of stuff? Is that a part of the basic core there?
Brass, barrels, and bullets.
Brass, barrels, and bullets.
That's the 3 Bs that you need to start with. If you're not shooting good bullets, you're literally wasting time.
Yeah.
If you don't have good brass, well, that's where your consistency comes from.
Yeah.
And, a good barrel. I mean, you can have the best bullets and best brass and best reloading techniques in the world. If you don't have a good barrel on that rifle, it's just not gonna work. So
okay, so let's take the rifle as a complete package.
Right.
What else are the essentials? Not necessarily for them to win an F-class match, but to get on target at long range. Your bipods or your bags or, all that
anything
kind of
that gives you consistency.
Okay.
If you can't pull a heavy trigger consistently, make it lighter or buy a trigger.
Right.
Okay. If that bedding on that rifle or that stock that you have is not doesn't allow you to get on that rifle consistently, then you need to upgrade that. It is user specific. It's not one size fits all, but that's how I approach it. Anything that causes you to not be consistent needs to be worked on or upgraded.
Now, so how about the software essentials? Like, what is the essential dope card or knowledge and understanding of the process, understanding of shooting position, understanding of all of those other skills that are going to kind of complement the hardware package?
Well, obviously you need to learn to make good shots. If you want to learn how to shoot long range, you need to be really good at 100 yards.
Yeah.
If you can't shoot consistent small groups at 100 yards, you have zero business going farther out because it just adds more noise to the equation.
Right.
Right? So how do you achieve that? Well, you have to practice. You have to dry fire, you have to go to the range, and you have to, again, make sure your system is consistent enough that you can shoot small groups at 100 yards. What does that mean? It depends what you're using it for. You know, half MOA, sub MOA, it's all user specific, right? But that's where it starts. You need to be able to shoot consistently. Once you know that you and the rifle can shoot consistently, now you can move farther out and start experimenting with wind reading, you know, figuring out your drops, your ballistic calculations, you know, start working with ballistic tables and ballistic programs and density, altitude, and spin drift and all that other stuff.
The further you go out, the more that those factors come into play, huh?
Yeah, but if you are not consistent and you start going to 1,000 yards immediately and you miss, you're not gonna know if it was spin drift, if you had the wrong density altitude, if you had the wrong ballistic coefficient in the bullet,
Right.
or if it was just you that can't make consistent hits.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, something as simple as a level on your rifle, doing tall target tests, having a good scope that tracks reliably, you know, so you need to do box tests, you need to do tall target tests, you need to have all that set up before you go, and it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. Yeah.
But that's the only way you're gonna ensure that you can consistently hit at long range once you get there.
Yeah.
But, you know, a lot of people just wanna go to 1,000 yards immediately,
Right.
and they shoot a ton of shots, and they'll hit it, and they're like, I can shoot 1,000 yards. Trust me, if that excites you, if it gets you out shooting,
Yep.
that's great. But if you wanna be proficient and you wanna do it consistently,
Yeah.
it starts at 100 and you work your way out. Hardware, software.
You realize when your buddy got you onto that target at 1,000 because they've worked up the load, they've got the rifle built, and they've figured everything out. You know, it can hook a person, which is great,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Set the hook. But then when you go and try and do it yourself from scratch, you realize how hard that can truly be, especially if there's wind, right? So I like your idea of start near and then kind of like take it at one step at a time, right?
Get to the point where it is absolutely boring for you to do,
Right.
because you do it so often and you do it so good.
Right.
Then you move. You know, move to 300.
Right.
300, we say, well, that's an easy shot. Not if it's windy.
Right.
If it's so easy, go out there when it's windy.
Right.
You want to learn how to read the wind, you're gonna have to shoot in the wind.
Yeah.
There's no other way around it.
Absolutely. No, that's good. And if you want to know more about precision shooting, one of the best resources I can recommend is Believe the Target, Erik Cortina's podcast YouTube channel, also the Erik Cortina channel, and all sorts of good resources there. The people that you've gotten onto your Believe the Target podcast, I really learned a lot from and have built relations with some of them, like Paul Phillips, for
Right.
instance. You know, oh, who's this guy? Oh, well, he's an ELR champion. Maybe I should get to know him, and pretty soon, you know, he's teaching me and stuff. And that's what it's all about for me, is it's all about learning, right? How can I challenge myself more, and how can I be a better shooter, build better rifles, and ultimately just keep taking things to the next level, you know?
Well, that's a great example, right? I shoot 1,000 yards all the time. I'm pretty good.
Pretty good. World champion.
However, when I start talking to Paul Phillips, Chase Stroud, and some of these extreme long range guys, from 1,000 to 2,000,
Yeah.
it's drastically different.
It really is.
They tell me about these things, and I'm like, man, I didn't even realize I needed to do all that, right? So again, I'm at 1,000. That's very long range for a lot of people. Beyond that, I'm lost, right? So if I wanted to do that, I would go and learn
Yeah.
from those guys. And
Yeah. What
my
are these-
equipment would have to be upgraded. This is the software and the hardware, right?
Yep.
And so yeah, that's a perfect example. It's not all the same.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you for talking about this with us. If you want to know more, Believe the Target, the Erik Cortina channel. EC Tuner brakes are great. I've learned a lot from you, and I know all you have as well. Thank you very much for joining us. That concludes this video, and that means it's time to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. If you're interested in custom rifles like what we build here on the channel or gunsmithing services, you're going to want to go to rifles.ultimatereloader.com and get on the wait list. If you want to learn lucrative gunsmithing like what I show here on the channel, including building custom rifles and Cerakote plus a whole bunch more, you're going to want to check out the Colorado School of Trades, schooloftrades.edu. Thanks again for watching.